In the words of Shaking Stevens, Merry Christmas, everyone. We're going to try and find you a few winners to boost that bank ahead of, well, the Punters Christmas, which is, of course, Boxing Day and the days beyond. It's a brilliant sporting few days ahead, but it all kicks off this Saturday. We've got Betfred sponsored card at Haydock and some cracking racing at Ascot. Frankie and Joel join me, and Joel's a little bit stressed, but have you found the winners this weekend?
I try to. The place that I do my proper job has decided to block anything that's got the word gambling, racing, or anything like that. So I've been standing outside, freezing, trying to get on the 5G. But I can't load enough money on Il Fonse. The money is coming for the King George. I told you, I think I got on at 9-4. I got on at 4-1, and then it drifted to 12-1. And I think we're back into like 5-1, 11-2. It is your best bet of the Christmas period. This horse will not be beat this year.
Yeah, it's been sweet on that for a while, Frankie. And what are you looking forward to most?
This weekend, seeing how Woolpark materialises. I think he's a top-class horse, but what game are we playing? Are we playing the Potemps qualifier game, or are we playing the Stayers Hurdle game? I think whatever happens this weekend, I'm going to have a bet for March, but Saturday will dictate what race. I think he could be top class.
Yeah, JP's bored him. He ain't going Potemps. Right, let's get stuck into the action. I'm going to start at Haydock, if we can, because it's a Betfred sponsored card. I've got two races in front of the ITV cameras, starting with the Betfred Tommy Whittle, 3.25 miles nigh on, and it's going to be testing on Merseyside. It usually is this time of year, so you're going to need to stay well. 9 go to post. I'll start with you, Frankie. Where are you heading?
Come on, Matt. Famous Bridge, last year's winner. He's only up £2. He ran behind Elvis May last time, who dominates Calso. That's the place you start and that's the place you finish. Simple.
That is quick. Gone for the favourite, Joel.
Do you know what? I would never take the mick out of Frankie, especially at Christmas. But Famous Bridge, lots of weight, reliable, £2 lower than when seen in the Ultima. He travelled well in that, but didn't finish off his race. That was heavy. Won this last year. Haydock have changed their going in a shock move to soft to heavy, so it's probably bottomless. I think Famous Bridge over the weekend is a decent bet. The only other one I could put up in this, is it Jack's Parrot? I've had that in my tracker for some reason. I can't remember why, for Ollie Greenall and Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. Only wrestling fans get that. So, yeah, Famous Bridge wins it, and Jack's Parrot as each alternative. Short and sweet for Haydock this weekend.
Wow, there we are, unanimous in the opener for the Betfred Tommy Whittle. What about the 240, the Betfred Hat-Trick Heaven handicap hurdle over 2 miles? Hopefully the 8 go to post here for each way purposes, Joel.
The Alan King horse, Admiralty House. That's how you say it around Christmas. Alan King's come into a bit of form as of last sort of 3 weeks, hasn't he? Because he's having a shocker, and a lot of people thought he'd given up or whatever, and he's just sort of miserable all the time and having a pop at ITV and the whole lot. And has he just gone into a miserable old man? But he's bounced back. This horse unseated last time out at Doncaster, but it's super consistent. And last form figures 2-2-2-1, and that gets me excited in a field that you could just pretty much pull apart. Super consistent, really, apart from that last soft unseat last time. At the last. So, get on the old Alan King train for Christmas.
There we are then. Alan King train. Frankie, where's it bound for?
I think we're going to have some extra presents under the Christmas tree if we keep this up. I really like the same horse. 3 seconds, an unseat. Alan King coming into form, 18% strike rate, all the same things that Josh just said. Not to bore our viewers, but I think he's a cracking each way bet. I certainly think he's overpriced anyway. I'd be disappointed if he's not in the top 3, having been in the places the last 3 times and being unfortunate last time out. So, ho, ho, ho. Alan King's coming into form for Christmas.
Oh.
Okay, that's how Haydock's TV races done. What about Ascot then? Brilliant card. The Christmas race day. We'll start with the 150 graduation chase. It's Iroko versus Ireland. Do we agree on this one? I'll start with you this time, Frankie.
Oh, this is a tricky little race, isn't it? Fascinating race. Iroko was obviously beat by Trelawn last time, and we all said what's going to happen. And then, the Nationals, the end goal-wise, in another 2 mile 5 graduation chase. James de Burley can't really finish off his races, as we found out at Aintree last time. Jungle Boogie, right? I think he could absolutely slooze up if it wasn't for Henry de Bromhead's form. 5% strike rate really puts me off. I would probably give a squeak to Phil Daw, who's had to beat nothing last time out. He went off. What did he go off? Some ridiculous price. 1 to 40. Yeah, but
yeah. A double.
That was my Christmas bet. If you looked, okay, on the surface, potentially he regressed a little bit last year, but he's ran behind good horses. You know, he was only a length and a half behind Dino Blue on his opener last year. He was 4.5 behind Al Fabiolo. He was on heavy ground. All right, he wasn't great at the festival, and then not great since. But this season, he's come second to St Sam, good horse, and then won an absolute mockery of a race. Better ground, coming over here into a weaker race. He's not the 9 to 2 shot in the field anyway for me. Don't know if I'll have a bet, but that's my answer. He's overpriced.
Okay, filled off for Frankie. Joel, it's a tricky little one.
I was really strong in Jungle Boogie and wondered why it was around 5 to 1. But obviously, you mentioned the de Bromhead form. I watched the Gold Cup back last night again. Was 6th in the Gold Cup. I was cruising, probably at 3 out, and then made that bad mistake. Is this not the best horse in the race?
I think I do think so. Yeah, just strike rate. That's criminal, isn't it? 5% this time of year.
Yeah, but only raced 6 times. And if you go back to January, 1/2.7 at Tremor on heavy, and didn't look like he stayed in the Gold Cup to me. So if you're looking at this distance, I just thought this was this. Has somebody got this wrong? Or is it the outsider of the field that is looking at me and it'll go off a lot shorter? 5 to 1. I mean, no, he's still in the betting for the King George at 100 to 1 or something like that. So I'm not sure. He's just had a bit of schooling in public and got at King George. But Jungle Boogie, I was really, really, really excited about this horse, to be fair.
My thinking with him was if he was good enough to go into the Gold Cup off such few races, they obviously think a lot of him. There was 2 de Bromhead horses up front. We'll talk about this in the following race or the one after that I fancy, but I'm very cautious of a yard operating at 5% over Christmas. But that could change. Change.
Only 4 runners and nothing really unanimous. It is a tricky little contest, that graduation change. But field off for Frankie Jungle Boogie. For Joel, they suggesting the price is going back to Ireland. Right, we've got a grade 1 to look forward to. It is a
long... Go for you, Matt. Surely.
Yeah. I didn't even think I had to say it, did I? Sorry, I thought it was gospel. I just thought it goes without saying. Yeah, Roko to bounce back for me. Of course it is. Right, the long walk hurdle then. Brilliant reel, I think. Strong leader, carried all before him, winning at Aintree and on his seasonal return. We've got Crambo, last year's winner. And then, of course, we'll start with you, Frankie, because you mentioned at the top of the show, the Wall Park. Won the Pertemps qualifier at Cheltenham. Got all the time figures, lads, thinking of potential stayers hurdle tilt. And here he is, bought by JP, pitching up in grade 1.
Yeah, I think it could be top class. I'm definitely having a bet this weekend, and like I mentioned, you laughed and said if JP's bought me, he's going to go for grade 1 honours, isn't he? But you never know. If he runs a bad race and gets dropped a couple of pounds, then the Pertemps is there. And if he did turn up in the Pertemps, I'd back him there and try and make my money back if he wasn't to win this weekend. So I'm backing him regardless. Now all March, I was really impressed with him at Cheltenham. I loved the way that he finished off his race, and obviously being purchased by JP is another tick in the box for how he's probably progressing at home. So I think he can run a big race, and I think he's a very fair price to get the better of Strong Leader, who is he's a great stayer, isn't he? He's a brute, but he cannot jump at all, and that could really catch him out for a bit of a slicker horse like Wall Park.
Yeah, Sean Bowen have a real good time, I think. So the Wall Park very much for Frankie, and it sounds like that could be his bet of the weekend, Joel.
I'd stay away and he can win for me with the JP colours because you don't know what's going to happen. So I would stay away and look more towards March, like Frankie had said. But then I'm looking at other stuff, and you're looking at Crambo, like you say. Who would have thought he'd have been 8 to 1 to win this year after you watched last year? But the form's gone completely out the window, hasn't it? And if you look what what Crambo was beating last year, Paisley Park, National Dressage Champ, it was all the OAPs and Fergals at an 8% strike rate, and there are stories around that he's scoping everything before he runs it. But with negatives against a couple of the top of the market for me, regarding jumping or just what you're going to do with it, I would risk Crambo. It wouldn't be a hefty bet by any means. It would be beans and chips money, but maybe a little each way, around 8-1 on Crambo, just to see if we can turn it back 12 months. Because if he goes and wins, I'll go, why wasn't he on at that price? I don't think it's been set up. I just think there's too many if, buts and maybes about the two at the top of the market.
Yeah, the two defeats were the Stayers hurdle and the Liverpool hurdle, weren't they?
I mentioned
Hidden Valley Lake.
Yeah. I thought like he could definitely be value. Obviously, he was beaten by strong leader at Aintree, but potentially could close that gap. And one's 9-4, one's 9-1. He's actually kind of what made me look into the yard a little bit and then go back and question my thoughts on Jungle Boogie. I do think his value. Let's say Jungle Boogie goes in, and he's still near a double figure price. I'd say he's worth an each way bet for sure. Hidden Valley Lake.
Okay, let's go on to the big handicap chase then. The Howden Silver Cup at 3:00. Is it Venetia Saturday again, Joel?
Well, yeah, it's got to be. It's 4 in a row. I read an article yesterday, and they're calling it Queen V. Queen V. She's there.
What do Beyonce's like followers? What do they get called?
Do you know it's my job as well, isn't it? Little bees, little wasps.
There's a name of them. What are Beyonce fans called? The Beehive.
The Beehive.
I'm not sure we can get away with it.
The Beehive. Oh, brilliant.
Queen V.
Yeah, Queen V. I love that one. In Venetia we trust, as we say in the WhatsApp group. This horse, Victorino, third to Canoe Kid and Broadway Boy at Newbury, won it last year of £1 lower. It may be one of the horses, I very rarely say this, that you're probably back in running if you've got the opportunity to do that, because it tends to hit a flat spot and then finishes really strongly. And you're hoping that you've got the amateur traders on, or all the top lads and lasses have gone off for Christmas. So they go, I tell you what, that's not jumping well. 7-1, get on it. You know what I mean? So I think 94 is a decent price. I'd have a little bit of running as well. And you've got your French horse coming over, Heloy de la Barrière. Not won since April or May 2022. It runs in some really big races against some big opposition, but just looks slow to me. And they've got the comedy jockey, is it Florian Boyle or whatever, in this race. So it'll be a line through that. But just one for the forecast. Maybe if you've not got any family or friends this weekend, have a look at Phlegmatic. They're trying to get this mark down. It's a Skelton special. It's still priced up at around 14 or 16-1. It's gone down £9 from 143 to 134. And they've been trying everything with it. Cheap pieces on, cheap pieces off, right-handed round here, weird distances, the whole lot. So I don't know if today is the day, but I'll go for Victorino to beat Phlegmatic.
Okay, Victorino then for Joel. Did win the race last year. Probably a bit of a deep renewal this time, Frankie, but are we keeping the faith with Venetia?
I think you have to, just because the two behind him in the market have been hiked up in the weights a touch. What's frustrating me is I keep putting up horses on our Monday show, Punters Guide, and then not siding with them come Friday, and they've been doing all right. It seems to be the longer I look at a race, the worse I do. I just need to have a glance at it. And I put up Trelawney on Monday. I said he'd run well. I was quite not annoyed that he won and beat Iroko, but I always was looking forward to him getting back to 3 miles after he fell early at the festival last year. But he's been put up £8. It just makes it quite hard to win. You look at the top three. Victorino's off the same mark for running a good third, considering how he travelled and jumped in the Hennessy. Finished his race flying home. I think coming off the same mark is generous. Changing Man's up 5. I don't think he's probably good enough off of 135, and Trelawney's up 8. So the other two have been done really in the handicaps, whereas Victorino hasn't, and he's back to win again. So I do think he is probably the shout. Maybe one to keep an eye on is Heart or Dark, purely because Gavin Cromwell came and had a crack at this last year with Yeah Man. He won the Leinster National off, and that that got him a marker 137. Coniston Walsh rides. One day I'll tip up a horse that he rides to victory. He's maybe the each way angle for me, but I think it's Victorino's race to lose. And another thing I spotted when looking at this race, one to keep on side perhaps for the new year, 300-3-5, won a 3-mile chase at Ascot in February last year. If you look at what he does first time out, he's been beaten favour a couple of times. So I couldn't have him at all for this race, but maybe stick him in your tracker to come back in Feb. He might get dropped a couple of pounds, and he had the better of Victorino and a few others in that race. So he's one back here in February.
Top stuff. Okay. Well, just dissected there, that 3 o'clock. And then we've got the big one. The Ladbrokes Handicap Hurdle, a bit of a throwback, of course, when they used to sponsor this. Always a top-class handicap. The final race over sticks ahead of Christmas. Joel for 3:35, 13 go. What do we fancy here, Joel?
Right, you look at it and you tell me what I fancy. Is it going to be the best handicapped horse in the world, the universe, the moon, or is it going to be something that I've put up? It was given a prep run last time at Ascot.
Ooh. You said about Fergal O'Brien before. I don't think it's going to be Dysart Enos, who's supposedly
No, Frankie, I'll say that for him. There's the old squirrel, secret squirrel.
Yeah, it's your mate, the squirrel, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you look...
you like him just because he's got a dodgy haircut.
Oh, I think you'll find. I love that. Look, you go back to Ascot, third behind our champ and Break My Soul, was ridden out the back, and it was a prep run, let's be honest about it. You go back a year ago, and whatever we think of Jericho de Repine and what's happened since at Newbury, he was less than 2 lengths behind Jericho de Repine, which is good enough for me. I remember watching this horse win on the opening day of the Grand National meeting. I was in the bookies, waiting for my taxi to arrive, take me to Aintree. I'm all over Secret Squirrel this weekend. Definitely a prep run last time, so go for it. So anyway, let's go to our Dysart Enos correspondent, Mr. Frankie Foster.
Oh, can't. It's not Dysart Enos. Matt, you said be aware, didn't you, at the start of the week would probably take all the beating. Couldn't put anyone off backing him, and you could certainly play a soft each way at 4s. Trying to find a bit of value, a dirty each way, yeah, dirty Christmas.
Dirty.
I thought, and I almost shouted this out, Joel, when you said who am I backing, until I saw the squirrel. The reason I said Alan King is coming home for Christmas is because Favour and Fortune, first time out, considering the form the yard is getting into, I'm not so worried about that. He's only up 3 for winning the Scottish Champion Hurdle. There were some decent horses in there. Affodil, I think, has won since. Lo de Sud, obviously very good. Rubal won well this year already as well. I'd say that's a bit better form than what's on offer maybe with some of the newbies coming through this year. So I think he's a nice each way play at double figure price. But yeah, you might be silly not to have a bet on Be Aware.
I do fancy Be Aware quite strong. This is a race that Skelton's really like, not only because obviously with the sponsors, but it's the first one, big one that Dan really won as a trainer, Willow Savey, back in 2013. He's always had a soft spot for it. They want him in Moorhead. They always have something. And to be fair to Be Aware, he's been held up in his last 2 starts. First time at Sandown at the back end of last season when it paid to be with the pace. And again, at Ascot, at Cheltenham in the Greatwood, Frankie, taking on the Greatwood form. Well, he's held up there when it paid. Obviously, he split at the end of the day, Burnett Road and Dysart Enos, who of course were up in the van early. So he's been held up, which has not been the place to be, and has outrun himself. £7 rise obviously does ask more, but he's lightly raised for a team who target this race. And yeah, I know he's at the head of the market, but I think he's going to give you a massive run for your money in that 3:35. And of course, I am taking on the squirrel, who's also one of my favourites. Right, nap time.
Just trying to find something to back you up here, Matt. Going back to the Greatwood last year, Iberico Lord, who obviously won it last year. He bounced as a favourite next time out, but he doesn't like good ground. And then he bolted up at Newbury, bolted up off of £8 higher. So to think that Be Aware might improve £7 is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, no, I think he's got every chance. He really has. Right, I'll get your best bets then. I'll just quickly talk to King George. Best bet of the weekend, Joel?
Jungle Boogie, I'm going to go for silly price at 5-1. As Frankie said, only form is the stable form, which is we say 5% or 3% or something like that. But best horse in the race, 6th in the Gold Cup. Was cruising 3 out, bad mistake. Jungle Boogie, 150 Ascot, get you off to a flyer.
Cool. Frankie?
The second leg of the Christmas Trixie is the JP-owned Wall Park, the Wall Park in the 225 long walk hurdle.
The second leg? What was the first leg?
The Jungle Boogie, and we're waiting for you for the third leg.
Oh, be aware then, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Fancy very strong.
All about 7-2 fours around there. Lovely little Trixie.
Yeah, well worth it. Strong on Be Aware. Right, let's talk about the King George. Obviously, I know, Joe, you're a big Ile Francais fan. Are you sticking with the French Raider?
Unbelievably, yes. I watched the Cote Star race back again a couple of times. And it's mouth-watering from last year. Mouth-watering. If that had been in the King George last year, would have, I think, easily would have won, after timing and whatever. But there were people crabbing the horse because it puts in a world-class performance, puts in a shocker. It's obviously got issues. But James Reevely is coming over to ride, not a comedy French jock. So top stuff. Honestly, I really, 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 really am big, as nearly as big as Gaelic Warrior at the Cheltenham Festival, but I'm really big on Ile Francais to clean up King George. Come on. And by the way, when it wins, I'm having 2 weeks off in January, so I'll be doing this live from Barbados.
Ile Francais then for Joel. Frankie, what wins the King George?
The market's a bit all over the place for Mike Corbett's cross, isn't he? Is he not going to run, or what's going on? Maybe he's not in the form of his life, wants more rain. I don't know. Him moving towards 10s is probably putting me off a bit at this stage. Very undecided, as you can see. If I had to give a shout now, it would probably go to Bambridge after his good run over 2. He's got great form at Kempton. The question is, does he stay? But I think he's good enough to win. And he wouldn't be in here if they didn't think he could go 3 miles.
Okay, then Bambridge. So it's not staying at home, the King George. Could be going to France, could be going to Ireland, according to the boys. So, right, just leaves me then to wish all of our viewers, a very Merry Christmas. Thanks to Joel, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks to Frankie, Merry Christmas to you. And, of course, enjoy the festive period. Whatever you're back in, the very best of luck.